Welcome back to Sergeant Major Sit. Second episode in the episodes of ever. Today we're going to cover quite a few things, but we're going to move a little faster than we normally do. But these are things that are relevant, going on right now in state legislatures around the United States. It's being pushed by the federal government. So again, I'm John Gillette, former Army Sergeant Major, former law enforcement tactical officer, and counterterrorism agent. Today we're going to talk about, of all things, EV and the push from the federal government, the Biden administration, Pete Buttigieg, all the crazy subsidies that are coming to you from your government, that they want to take your tax dollars and push this EV agenda. Right off the bat, I'm not opposed to alternate fuel source, EV. This is the consumer's choice. This is business choice. This is a choice of whatever you want to do. We know that California sets the standard, and it shouldn't be one state holding the rest of us hostage. But if you think about it, you have the ports, you have the rail, you have everything coming in the coast. California makes these crazy laws that manufacturers just have to deal with. And if that manufacturer is, let's say, building a semi-truck or a bus, they're not going to change at their factory to build one type of California compliant vehicle and a type for the rest of the world. They're just going to move to California compliance. So the Biden administration with the state of California is forcing this on the entire populace through their EV, electric, 2030, 15-minute city agendas that we've essentially banned in the state of Arizona. Part of my deal with Prop 400 is you cannot ban an energy source. So you cannot ban the internal combustion engine, whether it be hydrogen, whether it be gasoline, diesel, propane, natural gas, whatever it is, you cannot ban that type of conveyance just due to its power plant. But EVs could be the way of the future, but they're not right for everyone, especially where I live. I would love to have a Tesla truck and just bring it out here and just beat the heck out of it, drive it all over the place and see what it actually could do. But I am quite certain that that truck will not last. Weight, recharging, all these things are going to be an issue. Now, I live in the great state of Arizona, and I live out in the middle of nowhere where everything that we own is four-wheel drive. It's a necessity during monsoons. It's a necessity due to the terrain. We're geographically dispersed from normal roadway and infrastructure. So many of our roads are dirt, many of our roads are washes, and these washes are four-wheel drive only. You'll even see real estates at four-wheel drive only. So this push by the Biden administration on every walk of life into the Green New Deal and all the ridiculous nonsense is not being done through legislation. It's being done through EPA. It's being done through rules and Department of Transportation. It's being done by unelected bureaucrats that are shoving this down our throat. We know what the market does. We know how the market works. If the consumer wants the product, they will buy it. But the consumer doesn't want the product, so it's being subsidized, heavily subsidized, so that we buy a product that we really don't want, and they're making it difficult with gas prices, EPA standards, CAFE standards, road reductions. All these things are trying to force us into the EV world. Now, when we talk about the EV world, we're just talking about people right now and their everyday activities. But let's talk about mass transit. Let's talk about trucking. Because trucking, face it, that's where we get our goods. If we didn't learn our lesson during COVID on the transportation network, then we failed. But I sit on the Transportation Committee in the Arizona House of Representatives. I was awarded this year as the top member on that committee, not due to my votes, not due to anything else other than sheer knowledge and research. And we have researched this out hours and hours and hours. We've talked to just about everyone in the industry, every lobby in the industry, the Arizona Truckers Association. Thanks for everything there, Tony, for providing all the data that I could possibly ever go over. But you got to understand a few things. The interstate highway system has a bridge weight limit. That bridge weight limit is 80,000 pounds. So most of your trucks are 80,000 pounds or less. If they do go over, there are special restrictions, EPA guidelines, Department of Transportation guidelines, extra axles. You see escorts. This is mainly for moving big, large infrastructure items that have to be moved by truck. But your daily goods that are shipped to your grocery store, your hardware store, everything that we use, that comes on a regular truck. And you see the pictures here. This is a regular diesel semi truck. Now, when you talk about trucking and industry standards, these California compliant trucks, and they're trying to mandate EV, clean diesel, all this other nonsense. When you look at the vehicle there, you see a normal truck that you would see every day. Now, think about an EV truck. An EV truck has a battery. The battery weighs 10,000 pounds. And we come up with this formula based on the Model S Tesla truck because it is the best truck out there as far as EVs and range. But now we're into charging stations. And these charging stations, we've spent $7 billion and we have 7 charging stations for that basically 1 billion a charging station. These things are ridiculous. The infrastructure cannot hold it. The copper that's being used in these charging stations is being stolen just as fast as it's being put in. Not to mention the sheer weight of the truck itself as an EV truck limits the capacity of what you can carry. To run over the amount that you would need on the interstate highway system, I've been told that could, depending on the load, the size of the cargo truck, the size of the van, the engine capacity, the electric engine capacity and battery capacity, you could need almost 9 axles on a vehicle to move a product at the same weight that you would move in a regular semi. So no one's going to run 9 axles. They're going to split that load up into several different trucks. And that's going to add cost. It's going to add wear and tear to the roadway because these trucks are heavy. Now, you break that down to what the government's trying to do in the 15-minute cities. You look at the buses. Electric buses, much heavier. We were approached by, and I won't share what county, but one of the counties wanted to totally revamp their mass transit program with bus. They wanted the electric articulated bus. And if you look up most of these EV buses, the articulated bus or the regular bus, you'll see that they weigh over the actual bridge limit. So now that we're adding passengers, we're adding batteries, you can't even take this bus around town because it exceeds the weight limit of your bridges and you're changing your routes. You're disenfranchising the legitimate people that want to use these things. It's a mess. The 2030 agenda by the Biden administration is what they're trying to achieve. And it's not achievable, not right now with the current technology. I'm going to show you a picture of a charging station on here, and it makes the green people feel really great when they pull up in their EV. And you'll see it on the screen. You'll see the charging station. But if you carefully follow this video back to its power source, it's powered by a generator. That's a genset, probably a Caterpillar propane or diesel genset. And that's what's powering the chargers that power the car. Now, if you think about Arizona, just in a car, 117 degrees out in Phoenix in the summer, you're going to need about 2 hours of charging. You're going to pull in your charging station in your car. This generator is going to fire up depending on load, and it is going to charge your car. It's going to take a couple hours, so you can't sit in the car with the air conditioning on and try and charge. So you're going to stand out in 117 degree heat. Now, you go to other locations within Arizona or on the I-40 corridor. Let's say you need to recharge in Denver when it's 5 below zero. That battery is not going to charge when it's below zero. So that truck is going to be down longer, cargo is going to sit longer, prices are going to go up. This is going to be a nightmare for us. So do we stop it altogether? No, we have to create a path for this, but it cannot be the Biden path. I'm going to show you another video, and this breaks it down into simple terms. Now, in 1977, Chevy came out with their first commonly purchased personal vehicle in the form of a small truck, which was a Chevy, what would be a 2500 now, a C20 back then. The square body Detroit diesel Chevy pickup truck. You see it on here. This vehicle come from the factory with a terrible engine. The Detroit, I shouldn't call it terrible, very reliable engine, but 168 horsepower, non-turbo, air aspirated diesel engine. But the thing would go 300,000 miles without real maintenance other than some injectors and some other light work. But it came from the factory in 1977 at 27 miles a gallon highway, 20 in the city. Now, that's better than most of your modern vehicles with DEF, particulate filters, your catalytic converters. Remember, it goes all the way back to 1974, 1975, where the federal government mandated catalytic converters. And what has it done? It's ruined these vehicles. Myself, I had a new diesel truck. It didn't make it to the warranty. Had to lemon law the vehicle. It spent more time in the shop due to emission problems and computer problems than anything else. Terrible truck. I went back to an '07 diesel, non-def, EGR removed. We don't have those emission standards here in my county, so I don't worry about it. But I get 24 miles a gallon on the interstate, and I get about 19 in town. That's better than my wife's new Toyota 4Runner. It's better than most of my contemporaries' vehicles that folks I know. I get better mileage than an old Chevy truck. Now, this 77 Chevy truck gets better mileage than most of the cars built today. So are we sacrificing the multiple fill-ups for what we say is clean air, or could we just use less and still have the same amount? I mean, some scientists could probably figure that out, but we're not listening to true science. We're listening to Greta Thunberg, high school dropout. We're listening to AOC, of all people, and John Kerry, none of which are scientists, but they all claim to be climate experts. You know, we've gone from global cooling, global warming, climate change. We've heard every single doomsday prediction since I have been alive that the polar ice caps are going to melt, the Statue of Liberty is going to be underwater. None of that's happened. None of it is happening. All we're doing is we're controlling people. We're moving people into conveyances that limit their movement, limit their motion, limit their daily activities, and can be shut off by the government. Now, saying that, there is a large soda and chip company owned by the same entity. I'm not going to mention them here, but in California, they've moved mainly to EVs. For short runs, light weights, that may be the company model they follow, and we don't want to hamper that. We don't want to get involved in that at all. If it works for them, fine. If it doesn't work for them, let them use something else. But the consumer has to be the one. The people have to be the one to make this decision. The more they limit our travel, the more they constrict what we can use, the conveyance that we can use, it feeds into their 15-minute city agenda, and that's something. The smart growth 15-minute city is something we're just not going to support, especially here in Arizona. We've made it clear we're putting it to the people, and the people are not supporting it. The Democrats are pushing very hard for this, not as a matter of clean air, but as a matter of control. So don't buy into it. Do your research and really think about, would an EV work for you? Could you stand outside in the freezing cold or the blazing Arizona sun to charge this thing up and go another 200 miles? Doesn't happen in Arizona very much. If you're leaving Vegas and going to Phoenix, you're taking the closest main route that you can. There are 2 charging stations along the way. They're separated by about 240 miles. So, you know, if you got a 300-mile Tesla, you're going to make it. You got something else, you're going to be walking. And you're going to be walking in an area with no cell phone service. No, you don't even get AM, FM radio. If you don't have satellite, you have nothing. So you'll be walking to the nearest motor call box, and you'll be calling a truck with a diesel generator to come charge you up. So I think pretty much beat that horse to death, but think about trucking. Think about our supply, our logistical supply hubs, and how you get your goods. We're still seeing post-COVID shortages, and it's only going to get worse with this EV push. And I hear Biden on there every day talking about his infrastructure bill does this and that. It does nothing but restrict civilian movement. It does nothing but control your life. You know, we've heard the left talk about appliances. They want to restrict the type of appliances you can have. This is all 2030 agenda, 15-minute city stuff. But I want you to take a moment, just delve into this transportation portion just a little bit, and you'll see it's just not feasible right now, long term, across the United States. We have to quit spending money on subsidies for a product that nobody wants to buy. If the product gets better, competition gets better, and it becomes a product people want, they'll buy it. But until then, we got to quit wasting our money on it. So with that, these are things you got to research, you got to look at, take a hard look at how you move in your daily life and how you want to be restricted or not restricted. I don't want to be restricted. So that's something to think about. Now, with all these crazy restrictions, crazy stuff going on across the globe, globally, now we see conservatives are winning here and there. France is an example. Macron is literally shaking in his boots because the Conservative Party is taking over, and it's immigration and farming that has been on the forefront of the conservative movement. With that, we got a new exciting product, gold, silver bars. They're available in coins, great for wealth protection, great for your IRAs, but in a bind, when they start restricting, you're going to need smaller pieces. You're going to need something that you can use in an emergency situation. You're not going to carry a gold bar into a grocery store or a pawn shop or to your neighbor's house. You're going to need something that works. So what we have now are prepper bars. These prepper bars are perforated bars that you can actually break a piece of that gold off and trade that gold as a commodity to get what you want. It's not food. It's not anything but wealth protection. If you have something you can trade, such as gold, such as silver, but we're getting to that economy. You see the Biden administration attacking Bitcoin. They're attacking digital currency. They're attacking every way that we move about. They're attacking every single way that we spend our money. But prepperbarnow.com is where to go. If you want gold bars that you can break off, smaller pieces, easier to buy, prepperbarnow.com. Take a look at these things. It's a pretty great idea. 1.5 grams up to 7 grams. That's easy trading, easy money. You're not going to take your gold bar out of the house. You're going to deal with that in a different way. But these are something you can put in your wallet, put in your pocket. You can pretty much hide them anywhere, and you have a currency and a commodity that is tradable, usable right now, and easy thing to do. So take a look, prepperbar.com or prepperbarnow.com. Take a look at the product, and I think you're going to be very happy and probably sell those to your friends, and you're going to buy them out as we speak. So let's move on. Anthony Blinken. He got on the news. He spoke about Hamas not accepting the ceasefire deal. This situation is just terrible. Now, I'm sure everyone has seen the footage of New York where you have these individuals, we'll just call them individuals, or we could call them what they are, Hamas supporting radical Islam, asking if there's any Zionists on the car, any Zionists on the train. Raise your hand now and get out. We see no criticism of that from anybody in the administration, but we did see criticism from Joe Biden to the Israelis on their hostage rescue mission, where they rescued hostages from Hamas. Actually, a reporter from Al Jazeera that was housing these. So we're going to talk about this just a little bit and break it down. So this mission was about 20 days in length. It didn't just start overnight where somebody picked up the phone. There were human assets on the ground, human resources on the ground collecting information. You had a QRF, which stands for Quick Response Force. You had a reserve force to bail out the QRF if they needed it. You had air assets, even naval assets. This was a huge operation to carry out this mission. And the Biden administration claims that civilians were injured, possibly killed during this raid. Now, let me set this up for you, because this is how it plays out. I'm not going to expose any IDF TTPs or anything that isn't already on the news and open source. But What's not being talked about is how these missions are actually laid out. So you have a hostage rescue situation. This is different than the police going to the door with a search warrant and knocking on the door, announcing who they are, saying, "Oh, this is the police. We have a warrant. We need to come in and make some arrests and interview and possibly recover the hostages." This is known information. So this would be information collected from communication. This would be essentially human resource people on the ground with eyes on the target, eyes on the subject. They've got everything that they need. They know where the hostages are. They probably know by room where the hostages are. They know where the hostage takers are. They have their force ready to go, and they've made what's called an operation order. And in this operation order, this is not a law enforcement operation. This is a military operation to rescue hostages. As we see from the video footage, this was not a systematic raid where they sneak in, knock on the door, or bypass the lock, get into the stronghold in a very quiet manner. This is a dynamic raid where they know where the bad guys are, they know where the good guys are, and you can see them making entry. They're going to go in and kill the bad guys. That is the mission. Rescue the hostages, eliminate the threat. The threat has already demonstrated that they've taken hostage, they've beaten hostages, they've tortured hostages. We're past the hands up, don't shoot. We're not giving verbal commands to the bad guy. We're going to put a bullet in the bad guy's chest and rescue the hostages. This raid was well executed, well planned. It was a great job by IDF, and they recovered the hostages alive. For those of you that have never been on a hostage rescue, this is something that's done in the military frequently. It's one of the most difficult things to plan because even though you have a lot of knowns, there are a lot of unknowns. And your sources on the ground, you don't know if they're compromised. Your intel sources could be being spoofed. These are all things that you have to look at. But once the plan is made and you get to go, you're going. And it's going to be what's called a dynamic raid. You're going to go in and remove the threat, rescue the hostages, and you're going to withdraw. And that withdrawal is also planned out in a manner where you are not going to lose the hostages after rescue. That withdrawal could be more violent than the actual raid itself, because now that you've made a dynamic raid on a stronghold, everybody knows you're there. Now, IDF had some distractions going on. They bombed a couple innocuous areas to make people look. Good plan, good idea. It worked in part, but they were still under attack during the withdrawal. So we're not going to lose hostages on the withdrawal phase. We are going to go through there like the Red Army or like any other army, and we are going to finalize, get to the objective, and safeguard the hostages. So for the Biden administration to criticize a wartime commander-in-chief in Netanyahu, criticize that well-laid, well-planned, perfectly executed operation, and I say perfect because the bad guys died, the bad guys were identified, and the hostages were rescued. We know there were some injuries on the Israeli side. That's part of doing business. You don't want to see that, but it's part of doing business. And I'm sick and tired of the Democrats and all their supporters wrapped in Hamas flags, wrapped in Palestinian flags, acting like radical Islam and denouncing a good thing here. It's just horrendous that they could actually have the guts to do that. But think about this. When is the last time that you've seen a Democrat wrap themselves in the American flag, stand up for American values, stand up for the individual rights? And this goes all the way back to the House floor, state and federal. You see some of our federal counterparts protecting individual rights. You see us doing the same thing. You look on the House floor. When is the last time you heard a Democrat speak of individual rights? It's always rights of the governed. It's local control. They love that word, local control. We use it in a different manner. They think local control is small government. How about individual liberty? That's what we're looking for here. And they don't like that. They don't want individual liberty. They don't want freedom of movement. They want control, control, control. And if they can do this through radical Islam and the current situation with the IDF and Hamas, then they'll exploit that as well for their gains. It's just getting to the point where, I mean, the Democrats prove at every step they really do hate America. And I put that on my tweets. I put that on a few posts. It really enrages the left. Oh, well, you guys are the non-constitutionalists. Bullshit. When's the last time you've seen a Democrat wrap themselves in the American flag and speak about individual liberties? You don't see it. You just don't see it. So it's a mess. Right now, the world is on fire under Joe Biden. Anybody that is supporting the Biden administration, or any Democrat that supports the Biden administration at this point, you have to question their motives. You really do. Are they brainwashed? Are they just plain dumb? Or do they really hate America? Because they're not standing up for the individual people. Everything is under attack right now. You have the Chinese have a port in South America. You have the Russians off the coast of Cuba and a new nuclear submarine, a new class of Soviet submarine that carries the hypersonic missile. What are we doing? Of course, we're sending sub hunters over to monitor every movement and glean every piece of information we can off of this sub. But how close are we to World War III? We keep messing around with Ukraine. We keep messing around with the Russians. The Chinese are just they are eating our lunch. They're stealing our technology. They're in every part of our daily life. They're pushing the Democrat agenda. They're helping with the Democrat agenda. We got to be prepared, folks. Brings me to this. We talked about it last week. The food supply is under attack. Our infrastructure is under attack. You don't think our food supply is under attack? It's hard to find these search results, but you can go out there and look. Accidents with pork, accidents with chickens, but what are they really after? Beef, because that's your highest and best protein source. So that's why we support this company. You got to stock up, and as much as you can. You need to prepare. We are going to have blackouts in the summer. We're going to have brownouts during the winter as well. We're going to have issues with trucking and supply chain. It doesn't hurt to stock up. Being prepared is not a bad thing. Being a, quote, prepper is not a bad thing. It's protecting your family from the global frickin' chaos we got going on right now. If you just look around you, if you don't believe me, you think this is just some right-wing talking points, you're dead wrong. Dead wrong. Look around you. Take an honest look at the news. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to the media. Don't listen to talking points. Use your own brain and look around. We're on fire. That's why I'm prepared with different products, different assets, and definitely prepared with food and water. That brings me to everything rotates around the food supply. The bare minimums we need are shelter, water, and food. And you're going to need protein. Living off plants, it's a way. You can live off a plant, but you're not going to be healthy. You're not going to be safe. You're not going to be able to harden your stronghold, so to speak. So with that, stock up. Long-term beef storage. We have preparewithbeef.com. It's a veteran-owned company that sells premium ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, beef crumbles, anything beef. Preparewithbeef.com. RVM listeners can take 25% off a promo code RVM. Stock up now. Don't eat cricket burgers. Don't resort to veganism. Strawberry milk is not it's not vegan. I'm just here to tell you, it's milk with strawberry powder in it. I know it's just something we had to go through the other day. Shattered a poor kid's life. But preparewithbeef.com. Use promo code RVM. Stock up. Take care of your family. We got a lot of things to cover next week. Got some new stuff coming up. Looking at a host. Bringing in a guest. That will be my first guest on the show. If we can make all this happen, it's going to be big. Will be very big stuff. You're going to want to stay tuned. Again, thanks for tuning in. Going to take topics on request as well. So anything that you have a question on, military, law enforcement, Arizona House, Arizona laws, shoot an email, text, whatever, to all our platforms. We're on Rumble, Twitter, Facebook. We're on all the things. Shoot me the information. I will do a story on it. I will give you what information I can. Everything that we do is pretty much open source. You can see what we do, but a lot of times the spin doesn't tell you the fact behind what we're doing. So with that, Stay strong, stay safe, prepare, and above all, stay free. Have a good day.
Mike Lindell here, and like you, I see our country being destroyed daily. We face massive economic issues, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are people in power who threaten the values that have made our country great. Well, I've been a believer in gold and silver for a long time, and I've searched for years for a partner that shares my values. Well, Genesis Gold Group showed me how easy it is to protect your IRA, 401k, or your retirement with gold and silver. Their faith-driven approach to service and stewardship is one that stands out from the rest.
To get your free definitive gold guide and get started learning more about investing in gold and protecting your retirement from uncertain times, visit treasureandtrust.com now. Fill out the basic contact form and a member of the team will be in touch. Again, that's treasureandtrust.com or call 855-625